I made a slideshow for my chat at twitch.tv/GappyV about what I wish I knew before full-time Twitch streaming, with lots of things that other videos just don't mention. So if you want to be a Twitch streamer or just want to know what it's like to do content creation as a job, this video is for you. So the first question you might even have for like all of this streaming discourse is, why would you listen to me when you have no idea who I am? Why listen to me? Well, you might have seen a lot of other streamers make all sorts of like, oh, this is how you be successful as a Twitch streamer. Don't start streaming before watching this. Here's all these other videos on like how to be a content creator. Point Crow's made some, Douglas made some, you name a big creator, they've made them, right? But a lot of them tend to be either kind of dated or they're from people who have already made it all the way to the top, right? I thought it would be interesting to get the perspective from someone who's not at the top, but of someone who's like the average success. I am basically the average success case for a Twitch streamer. I know success and Twitch streamer, those normally don't go in the same two sentences. If you're getting like 3 to 5 viewers, you're technically already in like the top 5%. But in terms of like people who are doing like full-time streaming, I'm like, what? Top 0.3% on Twitch, and I still only have like 60 viewers. That's not a lot compared to the really, really big streamers out there. YouTube channel, pretty small. It's like 3,000 subscribers. Basically nothing to the vast majority of people who watch YouTube. And my subscriber count is actually pretty solid. It's like 380-ish, 390 subs. And that includes gift subs, tier 3 subs, everything. So I thought it would be helpful to give my perspective as somebody who is able to do this full time, but isn't like all the way up at the top. So I still have that, I guess, current ongoing perspective of somebody who is getting by, I suppose. I think it's helpful to hear from people who are like your average story and not just people who are all at the top, right? Just to get a more balanced and realistic perspective. Because if you're gonna try and do this type of stuff, you're not gonna be like a billion viewers, you know, 10,000, I don't know, Bugattis or Lamborghinis or Toyota Corollas, whatever the fancy cars are now for guys. You're probably going to be somebody like me. And that's either very scary or very exciting, depending on who you are. For like the average success like me, what are the credentials? I've been nominated for a streamer award before. Did I win the Hidden Gem award? No, but I guess that means I'm actually really good at being a hidden gem because I'm so hidden that I can't win. I get sponsorships from people like Twitch. I meet cool people like Haley Welch, the Hawk Tua girl, before the crypto scam, to be clear. Before the crypto scam, I did not know at the time. Nobody knew. The average success case is somebody who gets big clips like this. Chatter Mammon Noodles with 69. 69 was not an option, okay? The only time that's an option is when I'm with your mom, because I fuck your mom by 69ing her. Wait, how does 69ing work? Is sharing oral sex with your partner. In other words, it's giving and receiving. Wait, how do you do oral sex on a woman? I still don't get why this is so funny, like genuinely, but apparently this is like really embarrassing for a guy to say. I also get recognized by the occasional big streamer like Ludwig, who said, Gappy, aren't you that guy that tries to get people to say slurs? I don't say slurs, to be clear. That's misinformation on the internet spread by Ludwig, but it's cool that people recognize me. If I ever go on like a big streamer stream, they'll ask me if I'm either the slur guy or the 69ing guy. So that's a great start to my career. Awesome. So let me give you guys some context as to what actually started me to full-time stream in the first place, because I had a pretty crazy stream in, I think, early November, right around this time, where I made this announcement. I was laid off today. I was laid off today. This is not a bit. This is not a bit. Believe it or not, for months, people still thought it was a bit. I don't know why people thought I would just lie about that for attention, but no, I was genuinely laid off. So I was genuinely removed from my job, and I was no longer able to be a software engineer at that point. At that point, I had an alternative plan. I've actually already found a new job. It's not a bit, okay? I am now full-time streaming until June of next year, okay? And we'll see what happens afterwards. Holy, that'll be pretty pog. Wowee. So that was basically my big announcement for me deciding to just go full-time streaming and see how long I could last. I expected to go to June, but it's been a year. So we have a lot to reflect on. And honestly, I'll take that as a huge W that we made it longer than I expected. Some context though, because you might think, okay, maybe I just like randomly just jumped into streaming November of 2024. I've actually been streaming since May of 2020. On the red, you can see how many hours I was streaming. And on the green line, you can see I've actually been streaming for a really, really long time, but it was literally just a hobby. I was doing it through college, and it was just kind of like a fun thing that I just did and occasionally just got random beer money for, although I don't really drink. So like, I don't know, extra food money, as you can tell by my physique. And you can see that besides like a spike in April and May of 2022, which is when I was a Twitch front page streamer for like a week for AAPI month, it's been relatively pretty stable. So I've been at the game for like 4-ish years at this point before I decided, okay, let's try to do this full time, at least till June, and see how long we can go. Now, the big question, why didn't I just get another job like a normal human being? No skills. It's definitely not no skills. I had a skill in computer science, but as you can see on this chart here, software development job openings in the US have been on an insane tank, okay? You can see software development job postings on the blue line there is completely tanking. And this is in 2024. At that point, what's my best option? Can't I just like go work somewhere else? Like I can just go work at Starbucks, right? I already applied to work at Starbucks, and I got ghosted. I applied to work at Starbucks as a software engineer. They never replied back. I passed the exam. I never heard back from them. So I can't even work at Starbucks if I wanted to. So you might just say, all right, fine. You can't work there. Go put the fries in the bag. Just become a barista or something. I tried to apply for a barista job too. They still said no. I still never heard back. So I mean, like I did both routes. I was going to be making your turbo espresso macchiatos with 1 million pumps in it. And somehow I still got ghosted. So after getting laid off from this job, I was like, okay, you know what? Screw it. I have a lot of savings. Let's see how long I can go for streaming. And if that doesn't work out, we'll just go get another job, right? The first thing to keep in mind here, if you're going to do any sort of like content creation, streaming, whatever type of like life business thing that you want to start, have backup plans in place. And I mean plural, okay? Because there's too many dumb idiots out there who are like, oh my God, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to start a bakery and I'm going to become a millionaire, dude. I've watched so much Andrew Tate motivational TikToks. It's going to be the greatest thing ever. And you never hear about the million people who fail and are now working a dead-end job while having millions of dollars in small business debt or something like that, right? I actually had 3 specific backup plans. So plan B, I was actually already doing basically volunteer work as a speech and debate coach, but I knew I was guaranteed a paid role if I had continued it. I was getting offers from multiple places. I knew that after I had volunteered for like a year, I would be able to get a paid role. So I knew I was gonna have something. Plan C, AI data training. I have a contractor gig with like one of those AI data training companies where you talk to the AIs and get it to break and then you get paid hourly for it. Plan D, I could just get any job with a college degree. Legal assistant, secretary, white collar work. I could do whatever I needed as long as I had a degree. But let's be real, in this economy, with a computer science degree, plan D was basically just going to McDonald's. I would just put the fries in the bag at that point. It's plan D. It's the backup to the backup to the backup. So if it came to that, so be it. I wouldn't be that mad, right? Now, chat, this is usually what people want to hear, the numbers. How was I doing over the past year of streaming? Well, let's take the month of October, this month, just as an example. October of 2024, last year, I had 63 hours streamed, 60 average viewers for the whole month, and I said Chili's 2 times during that month. I don't know why chat thinks I'm obsessed with Chili's. I don't think I look like somebody who would be obsessed with Chili's, like the restaurant, but chat just likes to keep track of that for some reason. So there you go. In 2025, though, things seemed a lot better. I streamed 81 hours, so that's a, 30% increase in the amount of hours streamed. I gained about 6% more viewers, 64 average, and the times I said Chili's has went down by 100%. I just realized I said it like 4 times just now. Okay, if you exclude the past 5 minutes, I have said it 0 times. You might be wondering, okay, 64 viewers plus 6% when you go full time seems like it's not that good. This is the viewership of Twitch for the past several years. And I know this graph looks super duper confusing, but basically the higher the line is, the higher the viewership is. You can see 2021 is right at the top. That was peak during COVID when everybody was watching, I don't know, Ninja and Fortnite and stuff. In 2024 of October, the viewer count on Twitch total was 2.29 million. 2025 of October, which is this year, is 1.87 million. It's a little bit of a pretty big drop for a pretty big company. Like if YouTube dropped this much, I feel like people would be pretty freaking out over at Google. This is a 19% viewership drop on all of Twitch. All of Twitch dropped by 19% year over year. There's a lot of factors to it, but objectively, the fact that my stream is improving and increasing its community when the entire platform seems like it's on fire right now, I will take it. You might also be thinking, oh, 81 hours stream, that's like 20 hours a week, so you're not really full time. Keep in mind the hours not spent streaming are spent working on streams. Say, for example, planning things out, working on YouTube videos, working on TikToks, all sorts of other things. All these numbers and all are good, but let's be real. The real thing you guys want to hear is the cash. How much money are you actually making? Unlike a lot of other streamers, I can give you extremely precise numbers on this. Why can't other streamers give you their income? Good question, Novahole. It's because they aren't as anal about it as I am. I specifically keep track of my income every single month. I make these monthly income reports public to my community via Discord. That way you guys know that I'm not a millionaire, that your support does actually matter a ton. And so you guys also know what I'm actually spending your money on, because it's kind of annoying when like you donate money to a streamer and then like, I don't know, they go buy like caviar or something like that. And because I keep such meticulous track of every single income source, I can actually tell you the exact amount of money I'm making, which is really, really helpful so that you guys can get a realistic view if you're at like your peak where my size of stream is, how much money you might potentially make. We don't want to be your size, man. Bro, we're talking about stream size, not my weight. Come on. I'm talking about viewer size, man. Come on. You guys all know what I'm talking about. So this is how much money I made in 2024. The money kind of fluctuates between like $1,000 to $2,000. November and December, which is the holidays, things start to pick up a bit more. And in February of 2024, which was a really crazy month because I got a huge sponsor payout, a one-time sponsor, that was like $5,000. Which was pretty insane. In the current year of 2025, I made about $24,445.60. But keep in mind, that's only Q1 through Q3. I kind of not only keep track of my hourly wage, both worked offline and online, both of those are combined, but I'm also including the percentages relative to $3,000. $3,000 after expenses is just like a good number that I want to hit. It's where things feel like it's at least sustainable, the bare minimum I need in order to continue to stream full time. And anything extra I can go towards savings, emergency funds, things like that. And again, you can see it fluctuates pretty significantly. A month like September, I make like $4,500. That's insane. Versus a month like March, where it's $1,400, less than half of what I'm trying to aim for. Things can fluctuate pretty wildly. But based on historical data that I have, and knowing this is only Q1 through Q3, I can give a pretty strong estimate that my 2025 income is going to be about $34,000. That is something I'm very, very confident in saying. So depending on your perspective, you're either thinking, damn, Gappy is a broke boy. Oh my God, poor Lamau, poverty moment. Or you're thinking, wow, for a guy who just plays games all day, that's actually pretty cool. So depending on your perspective, is either really, really awesome or really, really cringe. It's important for me to clarify though, that even though this may not seem like a lot of money compared to like software engineering, somehow this is still not typical. I would honestly say I am making well above average the streamers of my size, and I can confirm that anecdotally, and I'm fairly confident I can confirm that with the data based on prior Twitch information. 34K is certainly way above what the average streamer of my size makes. I think a lot of streamers or a lot of viewers will see my monthly income reports and think, oh, so everybody who's doing 50 viewers are making like 30 grand a year. Did you also do part-time work or only streaming? That only includes streaming. Only streaming is included in that, nothing else. If this isn't typical, if 34 grand is way higher than normal, how the fuck did I do it? Did I just get lucky? Did I get some secret sponsor by the Saudi Arabians after they bought EA? I would say there's a lot of different factors at play. I think the best way I've described it to people, and this is something that I haven't seen people explain it before, is when you're streaming or doing any sort of community-oriented thing, think like content creation, media relations, whatever. There's basically a scale of two things: being business-minded on one side, right? Focusing purely on just, oh, I gotta make as much money out of every single viewer as possible. possible, and then being community minded where, oh, I gotta put up the coolest content possible. I don't care how much money I lose on this. I want to make sure that my viewers are enjoying the content that they're watching. And as a streamer, you're constantly balancing these two, because if you get too business minded, people are going to see that you're being shameless. You're just trying to beg for money constantly. They won't want to watch. People don't want to see a beggar, right? But if you're too community minded, you might be making really awesome content, but it's simply just unsustainable because you're just not making enough money to justify the cost of all these super high production or high-end streams. I thought you were scared of scales. Do I need to put a fat joke counter in the corner at this point? What are we on, like 3 or 4 at this point? Why is it so big? I don't know why it's so big. Just like you. All right, it's at 5 now. Are you guys happy? So your job as a streamer is really to balance these scales. You want to have the best content as possible for your community, but you also have to make sure you can pay your rent and tip your landlord the standard 30% that everybody does, because everybody knows that being a landlord is one of the hardest jobs in the world, right? So what are some examples of being business minded? One example would be the thing right above me right here, this daily goal that I have. I think a lot of streamers just have some general sub goal where it's like, oh, I'm at 500 subs, but if we hit 1,000 subs, I'm gonna do some special stream. Bro, nobody's gifting you 500 subs in one stream. What the fuck? Like, you gotta be more realistic. So what I did is I calculated, okay, what's like a pretty low amount of subs that would equal a low amount of income, but at least give me a floor to work off of. So that way, on days where we go way above the daily goal, for example, this day where we had 60 over 20 in terms of the amount of subs or $5 donos I got, then I'm doing really, really well. And the days where I go way above the daily goal help make up for the fact that the daily goal is otherwise relatively pretty low. The reason why I made it daily is so that way I'm making a consistent, stable form of income, because my goal isn't to be like a millionaire and max out like as many subs as possible. My goal is to make sure I have a sustainable amount of subs every single month. My sub count tends to stay pretty stable, and that is because of the fact that I have a daily goal where people want to make sure I'm hitting it every single time I stream. Do your donos come from varied sources, or are they typically from the same few people? It fluctuates. I think people overestimate the amount of times it comes from the same few people. The daily goal is way nicer than a normal sub goal, and the business-minded side of me thought, okay, I would rather have a sustainable source of income than just putting a random number out there like 1,000, and then one day you see the sub goal at 500 out of 1,000 subs. The next day you see it at like 450 out of 1,000 subs because 50 of those gift subs expired, and then you think, oh, this guy's never hitting the sub goal, I'm not going to donate. It's way better to have a very achievable goal, but having that goal done consistently. In exchange, when we hit a certain number of days in a row, or like a streak of like 25 days, we'll do like a cooking stream. Every 3, we add a new emote to the chat. At like 50, we'll do an IRL stream at Chili's where I wear a donkey outfit and embarrass myself in public. There's lots of cool rewards that you can still do, while also making sure you have a consistent source of income from subs. Another business-minded decision. I realized a few years ago, Twitch is basically taking half of my income without really giving me much in exchange. So what I should do is I should encourage people to do donations instead of subs, because when they donate, I get like 97% of it, compared to Twitch, where right now I only get 60% of it. It's way better for me to get a $5 donation than a one-time sub. So what I came up with a few years ago as a business-minded idea was the Euler Wheel. Trademark, copyrighted, whatever. It's a bunch of different special exclusive rewards purely for people who donate $50, the equivalent of 10 gifted subs. After I added this wheel, the amount of donations I got relative to subs skyrocketed. It happens very often, and it's a win-win because they get to get an exclusive reward that never expires. Say like, do as many push-ups as possible, or free merch, or I have to do a cosplay stream. And in exchange, I'm getting way more of my cut. It's a great business-minded decision where I'm encouraging donations. And then of course, the dreaded mobile game sponsor. I know lots of people aren't huge fans of sponsors, but this is another way that you can be business-minded and make more money without having to demand more of your community, right? Now, if you do too many business decisions, you get called a sellout, right? You get called shameless. It gets really, really obvious. People can tell when you're just only in it for the money. So it's important to balance those business-minded decisions with the community-minded decisions. An example of a community-minded decision. I run a Minecraft server. A bunch of different chatters asked me, hey, Gappy, let's set up a community server. We want a community Minecraft server. And I not only offer to help them set it up, I pay monthly for this Minecraft server to be run so that people can hang out, have a gathering place. And even though I don't really stream on the Minecraft server at all, like I'm not really making content out of it, nor do I have any plan to, this allows the community to have another gathering spot besides Discord. It lets them to hang out with fellow Gapsters for longer. And from the community-oriented perspective, more time spent hanging out with the community is a win for me at the end of the day. I'm not making money on this, but still a win. Now, the thing to keep in mind though, is that with community-oriented decisions, they tend to not make a lot of money. For example, this right now is the past couple of days on the Minecraft server. There was only one time where one person logged in. So the past couple of days, it's been basically a dead zone. If you're purely business minded, you purely want to make money through streaming, you're probably thinking, oh man, well, if no one's using it, let's just instantly shut it down. We're gonna save like $15 or $20 a month. Like, that's so worth it. But from the community perspective, it's really awesome to have a community Minecraft server like this. It's really nice to have this place. And if/when more people run events on it and more people use it, I'll be happy that it's there. But sometimes your business-minded decisions and your community-minded decisions come together to make something that's like the best of both worlds. For example, going back to that Euler wheel, once as like a joke, I added a special reward where if you land on a certain spot, you get to spin again for free. And for the next hour, all Euler wheels are $20 instead of $50. And I thought, we'll just do it one time. You know, it'll just be a funny bit. Maybe we'll get a couple more Euler wheels. It'll be a funny way to just troll the streamer by just forcing a bunch of wheel spins. We'll get like 2 or 3 extra spins. People started donating $1,000 specifically when they were $20 Euler wheels, just to fuck with me. At the end of the day, it's a win-win. From the business-minded perspective, I'm making a lot more income. And from the community mindset, it's really, really funny when everybody, people who might not be able to normally donate $50 are able to throw $20, get a really funny reward, and troll the streamer, I guess, by writing their name on me or making me sing like some inappropriate Eminem song that I can't remember the name of that maybe chat knows, or making me do push-ups over and over again. There's lots of cool ways to combine these business decisions and these community decisions into things that balance those scales. So in the grand scheme of things, my estimated 2025 income is $34,000. I went on Glassdoor, which generally tends to overstate incomes, and they said a McDonald's crew member makes between 26K to, at the highest, think like Los Angeles or New York City, 33 grand a year. So to make more in rural Georgia as a streamer compared to a New York City McDonald's worker, like, that's a nice little reward, right? But compared to my old software engineering job, which paid $85,500 a year, I definitely have to make a lot of lifestyle changes. Let's put it that way. It's definitely still nowhere near what I used to make. But numbers and income isn't everything when it comes to streaming, all right? I'm totally not mad I'm not making $85,500 right now. I'm totally not upset. I'm totally not angry at my old boss, Melinda, all right? There are a lot of pros to streaming beyond just like the numbers itself. Some benefits of streaming. I get to play games for a living. Who else would want to do that? I guess you have to be entertaining when you do it, but objectively, playing games for a living is not as hard as like coding some really hard computer science problem or working in the coal mines or something. People always say, oh, is streaming easier or harder than a 9 to 5? I think a lot of streamers tend to say, oh, streaming is harder, right? No, streaming is different. There's a different skill set you need, but objectively, it is so much easier. And I think people tend to not appreciate that as much, especially as they become bigger as streamers. I really appreciate it as someone who went from a dead-end software engineering job to a way more fulfilling job as a streamer. Flexibility. This is more so with self-employment in general. Being able to go to the grocery store or the DMV at 12 p.m. on a Tuesday when everybody's at work, or just schedule a dental appointment. Being able to decide what days I stream, what days I don't stream. I don't have to like use PTO or save a certain amount. It's so freeing. I don't know if I can go back after having such flexibility to be able to schedule things whenever I want. But most importantly, and this is, I guess, more so about life, I'm feeling way happier. I enjoy this way more. I feel way healthier. My blood pressure is down. I've been able to lose a lot of weight genuinely by trying because I have so much more free time and I'm able to focus on it. Honestly, I'm just a way happier person despite the fact that I'm making literally less than half of what I used to, which is pretty surreal. Streaming is the new Ozempic. No, I'm not telling you guys you're gonna lose weight by streaming. That if you sit there for 12 hours a day playing Fortnite, you're just gonna magically lose all the weight. You also get to meet a lot of new and cool people. I've made so many cool connections through streaming. For example, at the Streamer Awards, I met Liam, which was really cool. There's a picture of me and the fellow, and here was a random reply I found today that says, "You look like you create squeaks if you do the fusion dance." I feel like that was a little bit insulting of that random dude to say. I don't think he would create the fusion dance and suddenly make squeaks, especially because I also met Squeaks the same day. This is from the same night. So clearly we are two different people. There are multiple Indian streamers on the platform. So yeah, you meet a lot of really cool people through Twitch streaming. But that being said, no job or gig is perfect. There are quite a few downsides. And these downsides are things that I feel like are pretty unique to Twitch streaming. Anything you do in life becomes a content idea. It's like a really, really hard thing to get your mentality out of. Like maybe I'm filming myself eating something. That could be content. Maybe there's a really nice place. I should take a picture of there. I could make that an Instagram post or a story or something. That could be content. When I was at a Pokemon tournament, I ended up filming things purely for content. Like while we were in the middle of a match, like he's just actually playing the card game and I'm busy filming like a weirdo. It's super duper duper annoying and weird, right? I'm literally sick in this video. I lost my voice this weekend. I had to call a doctor through like telemedicine because I thought I was like needed to go to the hospital. My first priority was, let me film this for some B-roll, you know, for a YouTube video in case it comes up. The content brain doesn't go away, and it's really, really hard to get out of that mindset. When you work a 9 to 5, it's relatively easy depending on where you work. Generally, it's pretty easy to, I guess, go out of work mode and think about things outside of work because you are physically outside of work. But when you're streaming, you're constantly thinking of what you can make for content. Just don't record, lol. It's easy to just say, just don't record, but then at the same time, you're thinking, okay, but then what else can I use this footage, right? How else am I gonna do it? It's like a constant thing you're thinking about. Unlike a normal 9 to 5, there aren't really any real vacations. Like you can't just take like 7 days off. If you take like a week or two off as a Twitch streamer, generally your viewership's gonna go pretty significantly down because think about it like a TV show. You might watch a TV show on a certain day every single day. But let's say that TV show takes a break for like a month. You're probably gonna go pick up a different TV show. You're not just gonna stare at the wall waiting for it to come back. You're just gonna pick a different TV show, and then maybe when that show comes back in a month, you're probably not even watching that anymore. You probably moved on to something better. These are the past few months where I've gone live. If it's colored in, that means I went live that day. And you can see there are quite a few days where I went off, but generally speaking, there's no period where I'm taking more than like 3 days off in a row. I'm always trying to keep it so I never take 3 days off in a row, 2 days maximum, right? I think I've only ever taken a 1 week break from streaming twice in the past 5 years. One was when my brother passed away and I had to help my mom plan the funeral. And even then, I brought all of my streaming equipment. I brought it onto the flight because I still wanted to get a stream in, right? Because I did not want to take a huge vacation and lose viewership. It's something you are kind of always thinking about in the back of your mind. On days where I'm not streaming, I am working on other streaming stuff. This is the latest YouTube video I made, the Legend ZA video. And this is the timeline that I spent roughly like 15 to 20 hours. So I did 15 to 20 hours of work on this over a 48-hour period. And this is after I had my editor work on it for like another 20 hours within that same 48-hour period, just to get this video out as fast as possible because it was a game that just came out. So you are still working quite a few hours. And even with all this in mind, even with having days off where I'm spending it mainly working on stream related stuff or YouTube related stuff, I still want to work more hours. I genuinely feel that I'm not working enough and I need to get more hours spent working. It is something that's going to take a lot of time out of you if you decide to do this. Which sucks because generally, at least with Twitch streaming specifically, nobody can actually relate to the problems you have as a Twitch streamer. And that's normal because people have normal jobs, right? It's really, really difficult because the only people you can find who can relate to your specific problems are people who are online, for lack of a better word, terminally online people who also watch a lot of Twitch streams. Of course, there's a lot of privilege that comes from being able to stream. And so when the average person in real life hears that I stream, they're literally just going to think that I'm being privileged and like an asshole when I complain, oh, I didn't hit the daily goal this month, you know, or something like that, right? Or, hey, the sponsorship canceled out on me. They're not going to be able to understand how much that matters and how impactful that can be. But thankfully, there are people online who can understand, right? Unfortunately, nobody can relate online either. And I found this today as an example. I literally forgot this happened. But this was a really crazy moment. This is r/livestream fail, a subreddit for Twitch drama and Twitch livestream fails that can be just a little bit toxic or drama related, only a little bit. Basically, this woman who was like, I guess someone said her hair looks like an onion or something, was put onto a YouTube video. And you can probably guess really quickly why she was upset about it.
I don't like this combo, I'm gonna be honest.
his editor, as like a joke, right? Because Squeaks had reacted to my clip too, took this clip from me at a Chili's where I didn't understand that this symbol with your tongue can mean a lot of really bad things that I probably shouldn't say. I had no clue what that meant. I just did it for like the stream bit, and I kind of embarrassed myself as a result. And I thought, okay, maybe this is a little bit funny. Maybe I should reply like as a little joke, right? So I make a little funny little reply as a bit. I say, guys, there's context. That's me and a Chili's in the thumbnail, I swear. Like just to explain like, hey, like it's not supposed to be weird. It's my fault, my beat. Who could possibly get mad at this, right? Anyone who associates with OTK is no bueno. I've never associated with OTK. Like I'm not part of OTK. It made no sense. Why do you care about a random LSF Redditor? One thing you have to learn as a streamer is that people will just hate you for no fucking reason. So it's really tough to find people who can relate to the struggles of streaming, because unless they are a direct streamer themselves who are friends with you, they really can't understand the issues you deal with, because they think all sorts of random stuff like, oh, Gappy's a part of OTK and he's done all these terrible things. But it is what it is. You just have to ignore it, and you have to accept that ultimately this is a pretty lonely journey. This is more of an adulting issue, but oh my God, people forget that when you have a job, you get benefits like a 401k, like health insurance, dental insurance, and having to get those yourself sucks. It took me like a week to read through everything I needed ever to figure out everything I needed for health insurance just to get my health insurance. Having to waste so many hours of your life reading so much boring stuff just to get an insurance plan sucks. To the point where other people will ask me for help with things like dental insurance. They won't even say, Gappy, can you help me find dental insurance? They just say dental insurance because, I don't know, they're that lazy, they can't figure it out themselves. I have no clue. Unlike a normal 9-to-5 where you work 2 weeks and you know how much you're gonna make, the money just is not stable when it comes to Twitch streaming. Actually, March 2025 was less than a third of the money I made in September of 2025. What other job exists like a normal 9-to-5 where 1 month you make a third of what you make in a different month? And it's not even because like, oh, I got a bonus or something. It's just normally how your pay fluctuates that much. Probably mainly like sales jobs, day trading, gambling. Yeah, so I guess if you're a 9-to-5 gambler, maybe that would be the case. But in that case, you probably can't afford internet to watch the stream anyways, because you probably lost all your money because the house always wins. Because the money isn't stable, I had to dip into a lot of my savings in order to be able to actually cover differences for things like rent, expenses, medical bills, things like that. Things can be very unstable, and it's up to you to really make sure you can manage it and make sure you don't go into a crazy amount of debt doing all sorts of stupid things. So let's say, despite all of the downsides I just mentioned, if you still feel like you want to do Twitch streaming or content creation, specifically for Twitch streaming, because that's the advice that I can give, there is the most important advice I can give you. And it is easily this without a doubt. Nothing even comes close. Just start. Like just straight up, you can just click the live button. Just click go live. There's so many people who spend thousands of dollars on some fancy setup, get a fancy microphone, crazy $300 lights, all this Elgato equipment. You can get all that stuff later. Right now, just start and go live. Now is probably one of the best times to have a scuffed setup, a more authentic and real setup than these fancy setups where people had all these fancy lights in the background and these multi-million-dollar studios. The best example I can give for this is a streamer that I've watched for a long time. Eris, Avoiding the Puddle, is one of the largest Twitch streamers ever, going on since like 2010s-ish streaming. And you might be wondering, okay, this Eris guy, cool beard or whatever, what are his streams like?
Can I draw you? Why would you ask a stupid question like that? Just fucking draw me. What am I gonna do, say no? You are an idiot. Yeah, go ahead. You mean nude? That's a different story. You mean like on the Titanic?
The Titanic? So this is one of the largest Twitch streamers out there, one of the most successful Twitch streamers, and he literally streams with a webcam pointed up towards him in an awkward angle. It's confirmed to be green because it's broken, and he's just never bothered changing it. He did not spend thousands of dollars getting a fancy camera set up and all these sorts of random gadgets and like spending time planning for each individual stream. He just went live, showed off his personality, and people loved it. You don't need to spend so much time getting all these fancy little things and preparing rather than actually doing. Let's say like I just told you just start. You have no clue what content you want to make. You're like, oh, I really want to start, but I don't know what I want to do. That's a little bit of a different question. If you genuinely don't know what content works best for you, that's like a 2-hour discussion on like what things are you interested in? What skills are you good at? What skills have you always had a passion for? I think the best video for that is probably Doug's guide for new content creators. It's a 2-hour video. It's pretty good. I'm not really personally into a lot of the self-help stuff. He kind of saves that mainly for the end, but he talks at the beginning a lot about how to figure out what skills you're really good at and how you can combine those to make really, really good content. So if you're lost on more so what content you want to stream, this video is probably going to be the best video for you, because I cannot spend 2 hours yapping about that, let alone just regurgitating information that he came up with. The other important advice I would start off with after you've already gone live. Firstly, you need to make yourself known. You can't just sit on Twitch, stream, and just expect to randomly get viewers. That's just frankly not been the case for a long while. Certainly not the case now when Twitch is as oversaturated as it is at the moment. These are the 6 most popular clips on my channel, and all 6 of these clips have tens of thousands of views, and all of these clips became big not through Twitch directly. They were all posted to different platforms. I think all of these were posted onto Reddit except for reproductive education lesson 2. It's really, really important that you don't just stream and just sit there and do nothing. You have to make sure that you're getting clips, you're shipping them to other platforms, and you're actually trying to get more eyeballs on you. Your currency is attention. So if you're only staying on one platform, you are not going to be able to capitalize on the attention spent on TikTok, on YouTube Shorts, on whatever new platforms there are. It's really, really important that you don't just put all your eggs into the Twitch basket and just magically expect to get big. That was back in like 2010. You can't do that now anymore. Another thing is to really make sure, and this is me sounding more like an uncle or like a nagging parent rather than a Twitch streamer. It's really, really important that you balance your responsibilities. It's very, very easy to balance between having a job and just your regular life. But as soon as streaming comes in, which is, like I explained, very time intensive, you're constantly content brained. It's really hard to balance having a job, having streaming, and having a life. And it is really important to have a life. Like, you can't just do streaming and your full-time job. You need to have other life experiences as well that grow you and help you develop into a better person. You can't figure out what you enjoy, what things you're good at, what things you want in life without actually going out and experiencing it. We used to have, I think during COVID, a lot of streamers who got really, really big during COVID because streaming was the only thing they did. But then after COVID, as everybody kind of moved on with their lives and people started watching Twitch more as like a side thing rather than the only thing they did, a lot of these COVID streamers kind of fell off. And because streaming was the only thing they did, they didn't really have any sort of backup plans. They didn't really have anything else they could do. They didn't have any other sort of experiences they could share. And it kind of hurt them as a result, you know? And now you can probably see them getting like gambling sponsorships on Kick, and that's the only thing they do. You don't want to be like that. You want to be able to have a sustainable career streaming, which means that you have to be able to balance everything you're doing, including your job, because chances are, if you're going to try and start streaming, you are not making full-time income. I am barely making full-time income, and I am above average. Make sure you don't just instantly quit your job with no money whatsoever and just hope you just randomly get $5,000 on your first day streaming. Speaking of balancing, it's really important you balance that scale for Twitch specifically. I can't give advice for other platforms. Twitch is really the only platform that I feel like I have at least a good amount of knowledge on. It's really important that you balance the scale between being business-minded and community-minded. A lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to focus on making as much money as possible. People aren't going to watch you. At the same time, though, what people forget is you can't just focus on only making the best content possible. Like the most high production content, getting the fancy light setups, doing whatever your community wants, doing community movie nights and stuff. You still have to make sure you can pay the bills, right? If you want this to be a sustainable career and you want to be able to stream for the rest of your life or however long until you retire or get canceled on a twit longer or whatever, you have to make sure that you are making enough money to do that. So it's really important that you keep both of these in mind and constantly consider the business impacts and the community impacts of whatever you're making. And then this is kind of an obvious one, but I also think it's kind of not obvious. You need to make friends with streaming. For some reason, there's this mentality where people think, oh, this streamer is live, so they're trying to take away my viewership. That's so fucking dumb, man. Bro, you're probably at like 50 or 60 viewers like me. No one's competing with you. If viewership was like a competition, nobody would go live when Kai Cenat's doing his subathon or whatever. It's way more helpful if you're making friends who can actually help you out in exchange, because like I said, a lot of people can't really relate to the issues of streamers. So if you make a lot of streamer friends, you have a lot more people that you can work with and figure things out with together. For example, these are some Twitter DMs I got a few years ago from a streamer who is way, way bigger than I am. They don't even do gaming content. And they just randomly reached out and said, hey, I love your Wii Sports and Nintendo speedrun vids. If I made new thumbnails and titles to them, would you be offended? Genuinely fun for me, and they deserve way more viewership. My reply, should I let someone with hundreds of thousands of more views than me do my work? That's a very tough offer to think through. The takeaway here is that you really never know who's watching you and what friends you might make. If you're trying to be an asshole to everybody, it's just not going to help you at all. Now, with this in mind, and this was an issue I had with computer science back when I was a software dev too, there's this huge mistake I feel like people make where they say, I don't want to make friends, I'm networking. Ew. When you're networking, you're just adding as many people as possible to your LinkedIn. You're making all these facetious connections where you don't really know these people. You don't actually like know them. If you want actual help with streaming, you should not be trying to network. You should try to make genuine friends with people you are genuinely interested in interacting with and hanging out with. This is a big issue even at the upper echelons of streaming. There's a lot of people who are willing to network but not actually be friends with you. And that kind of sucks because then do they actually want to hang out with you or are they only interested in your viewer count? So yeah, please make friends. I have plenty of streamer friends, too many to name, that have been able to help me out with all sorts of random stuff. Some who are way larger and way smarter than I am. And I would not be here today being able to stream full time without that support. And it also means that I have to be willing to pass that along, right? So I'm willing to help out other people as well. Now, hopefully this can really help you guys because these are some of the mistakes that I feel like I've made over the past year of full-time streaming that going into next year, I'm going to try and fix, but also things that you can probably avoid if you're trying to make that leap. The first big one, learning YouTube has been really hard for me. I think when I went into YouTube with full-time streaming, my thought process was, hey, my Twitch stream's already doing really well. YouTube should be just as easy. I can just instantly pick it up. It's been really rough for my channel. And YouTube, unlike TikTok or other things, can cost quite a bit of money getting custom art done or having editors, or editing it yourself can be very time intensive. Even though I put a lot of effort into these YouTube videos, the same way that I put effort into my streams, doesn't always immediately pay off or even pay off at all. For example, if I go through my latest YouTube videos, you can see over on this side, I have the date and I have the view count. These are the older videos, this is the newest video. And you can literally see live how the viewer count on these videos just drop until the latest one where it's like around 200. The trend line is pretty stark. Now, why do I care so much about YouTube? Because a lot of people talk about TikTok and YouTube Shorts to grow your Twitch stream, and I agree those are way better for growing your Twitch stream. But if the goal is to have a full-time content creation career, Twitch and YouTube are the only real platforms where you can make a consistent and steady flow of income. YouTube has ad revenue and Twitch has subs, direct donations, things like that. It's why you see a lot of big YouTubers suddenly start a Twitch channel and try to get people over to Twitch. Because when you think about it, one Twitch sub is $6, right? 50-50 split, it becomes $3. How do you watch $3 worth of ads as one single human being? Like that's like 1,000 views on a YouTube video. Unless you are watching 1,000 times on a single video and clicking the ad every single time, you are never going to be, I guess, worth as much financially compared to the one person who subs, right? YouTube is also the only other platform where you can make serious money through ad revenue. TikTok ad revenue is constantly declining or is constantly fluctuating with all these mysterious programs that they make. Instagram Reels is kind of similar. It's really important that you try to push content out to YouTube. It's also really important that you understand that YouTube is a completely different ballgame. I cannot give you help on YouTube. I'm trying to get help on YouTube myself. It's a very different struggle. The next thing, I did not really push a lot on short form content because I, as an older unk at the ripe age of 25, thought, oh, I don't really need TikTok. I can just grow on YouTube. First of all, YouTube was very hard for me. I really underestimated how hard YouTube would be. But two, if you think about some of the latest streamers, the latest big streamers who blew up, they're all on TikTok. Queso, Kai Cenat, and I don't know how controversial this one will be, but I mean, it's true. Pirate Software. I mean, he was more so on YouTube Shorts than TikTok, but you get the point. Short form content is very valuable. And no matter how you feel about Pirate Software, no matter how you feel about the guy in the drama, right? He did grow a lot through making that short form content. It's very valuable to have that. If you see a lot of TikTok Queso clips, a lot of them aren't even from Queso's account himself. Queso doesn't really post on TikTok anymore. It's all these other fan accounts or other accounts that are just posting Queso clips that are getting them into your feed. It starts kind of a snowball effect where you have people who are enjoying your clips on TikTok and they say, hey, I want to make my own. Let me make my own. And it's a win-win because you get more coverage for your stream and they get the ad revenue from TikTok and the follower account, you know? It's a win-win for everybody. For me, I tried TikTok for like a few weeks. I didn't really get a lot of viewership. I got like one TikTok that kind of blew up and got like 19K views, but that's not a lot in the grand scheme of TikTok. Most of these got like only around like 100 to 300. And I just kind of gave up. And I really should have just kept going because TikTok, unlike YouTube, is something where you really can just kind of shoot from the hip and just kind of post as many TikToks as you can, maybe like once a day, and just try to learn from each one and iterate over time. It's something where you get way better at it way faster by just posting a lot. and I kind of just gave up very quickly. So that's another mistake that I made. The most important thing though, please do things outside of streaming. It's very easy when you're trying to do full-time streaming to only do streaming, but that's an unhealthy habit for anything you do in life. The reason why it's important to do things outside of streaming is actually because it helps you with streaming. It actually helps you to do things that are unrelated to streaming and then go back to streaming. The best example I can think of this, easily without a doubt, Northern Lion. Northern Lion's whole big spike on Twitch lately has been through all sorts of random discourse that he's had about things in real life, things he's noticed, things he's observed. And that's why people are really liking his Twitch stream specifically, and why it's really especially gotten bigger compared to what it already was.
Smoking looks cooler than vaping. Smoking, they're feeding an addiction, but it doesn't look like it's desperate. It looks like they're just casually like, yeah, I'm raising my chances for lung cancer and heart disease and stroke. Everybody that's taking a vape hit, to me, looks like someone that is like dying of thirst in the middle of the desert. They're always like, you know, after you finish like a long jog and you're thirstier than you've ever been? That's the vibe that every single vape hit I've ever seen in my entire life has.
So for streaming specifically, it's really important to have all these other life experiences where you can really discuss things, for example, like whatever's going on with movies or whatever happened in your day. If you're only streaming, you eventually run out of new experiences to talk about, and you kind of start looping the same 2 or 3 stories. And that's happened to me sometimes, where it feels like, oh, for the past week, I've kind of been talking about the same things on stream. Maybe I gotta, you know, do some brainstorming or some reflection, or even like do some other experiences to find some new things to talk about. For me, one of the things that I've lately picked up, because for a while I was kind of only thinking about streaming, the Pokemon trading card game. It's something that I've really personally enjoyed. It's something completely unrelated to streaming. I don't stream it, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. Here's a photo of the crowd at Pittsburgh, which is pretty crazy. Here's a picture with me and my editor, Epherma. He didn't want to be shown, so instead I replaced it with a picture of Pim Pimling from Smiling Friends. The point is, you need to have outside life experiences, even if it's something as dumb as Pokemon, in order to be able to have new things to talk about on stream. Now, when Ludwig made a video about streaming, his final piece of advice was along the lines of being delusional. Just in order to become a big streamer, you have to be delusional and believe in yourself, right? And if you're delusional, maybe not instantly quitting your job, but pretty delusional in your ability to be the best streamer, you will eventually be able to succeed. You have to be delusional. My take on this is, I think this is, I don't want to start drama, I think this is a little bit inaccurate. I think this is a little bit inaccurate. I don't think this is actually good advice. And let me explain why. Of course, there's always a relevant XKCD webcomic or some sort of random image you can post to counter argue with someone on Twitter. This guy says, never stop buying lottery tickets, no matter what anyone tells you. I failed again and again, but I never gave up. I took extra jobs and poured the money into tickets. And here I am, proof that if you put in the time, it pays off. This guy's delusional. If I came up here and gave you guys an hour-long presentation on how you should continue to be delusional to buy lottery tickets, that would be a terrible thing. That would be obviously stupid. I don't want to say streaming is entirely a lottery ticket in the sense that it's purely luck-based. There's definitely a lot of skill involved, but there is obviously some degree of luck involved, and you can't just expect yourself to be instantly good day one. I can't imagine myself to become an NBA player by just being delusional. Maybe I'll become an okay basketball player or a decent basketball player, but I'm not going to become an NBA basketball pro. So I would like to rephrase being delusional. Chase your dreams, but do it responsibly. This is something that I've said for a while, and I think that's why I've been able to succeed so much and not feel super stressed about, oh, certain months I'm not making as much, or hey, my viewer count is slightly down. How am I doing it responsibly? It's time for the throwback. Remember, the backup plans? The backup plans are in clutch, because tomorrow, if I get banned from streaming, I have speech and debate coaching. If speech and debate coaching doesn't work out, I have AI data training. If I somehow get banned from AI data training, I can get a job because I have a college degree. It's why when people say, oh, I dropped out and became a streamer, you should do it too, which some people have given me that as advice, like other streamers, I just vehemently disagree. It's really, really important in life that you have those backup plans. Now, I think if there's one last piece of advice I could really think of, to go back to that Doug video that I talked about. This was a video that I watched many, many times. It was very, very helpful for me. I thought there was this one little segment that I think is really, really important, whether you're trying to do streaming, content creation, a business, whatever you're trying to achieve for in life. And I just wanted to play this one real quick.
There is always a reason not to do something. It is not hard to find a reason not to do something. And after your first couple weeks, maybe even first couple days, you're going to go, well, nobody's watching my stream and nobody cares about my TikTok. and nobody likes my YouTube channel, and my work is really busy, and my relationship is, I need to spend more time there, and I want to spend time with my friends, I want to do this travel, and I'm sick, and what there's gonna be a million reasons not to do it. The hard part is to keep going and to not quit. And if you can push past that, you are going to dramatically increase your chance of succeeding as a content creator.
That's basically all I wanted to cover there. You have to be willing to push through all the BS, whatever life throws at you, whatever random things come up, and continue pursuing like streaming if you really want to do it. And that's another reason I said you should just start by going live. A lot of people think they want to do streaming and they quit after like a month, a few weeks, maybe even a few days. And that's fine. It's important to explore things and see whether you want to do it or not. But if you really, really, really want to do this, you have to be willing to put up with a lot of BS, put up with a lot of failure, and be willing to push through regardless, and have the confidence in yourself and the belief in yourself that your content is valuable and that what you're doing is going to be entertaining to a lot of people, because you're not going to see that success for a very long time. For example, my YouTube channel is doing very poorly. I'm still putting effort into it regardless. I'm still investing my time, even money into it, because I feel like it's very valuable. I enjoy making that content. I feel like that content has value, and I think eventually it's going to pay off. I can't tell you when, but I'm going to get better eventually, and hopefully one day it'll actually pay off. Now, Doug's advice there is pretty great. Honestly, I think it really applies to anything you do in life. You really have to be so passionate that you're willing to pull up with all sorts of things that life will throw at you in order to continue pursuing your passions or chasing your dreams responsibly. I think an even better person who said this isn't even Doug though. This guy's name is Big Rig. Big Rig Creates. His big claim to fame is he makes all sorts of Pokemon devices in real life. For example, like a rock and roller pencil sharpener. He makes these things, but they actually work, which is really, really cool. What he did was 1 year of full content creation rather than streaming, like mainly on YouTube, I believe. And he made a really, really good point in his retrospective that I wanted to share.
And then the final piece of advice I have to give to you is, if you give up, it's over. You'll never make it. The moment you decide to stop making content, to give up on making videos, is the moment you'll never succeed. I know that sounds really corny and generic, but most people who start trying to make content stop pretty early on, and they don't try to develop their skills. They don't try to see what an audience wants.
I think this is like, I don't know why I'd never heard of this in my life, but this really changed my perspective on things, right? And I think the best way to summarize what he said there was this one quote right here. The only way you're guaranteed to lose is if you give up. You might still not win with content creation. You might still completely fail, but the moment you give up is actually the only way you're actually guaranteed to lose. There is no way you're ever going to grow. There's no way your streams are ever going to get big. There's no way you're ever going to make money from it. By definition, by giving up, you are forfeiting the right to win. So if you really want to stream, if you really want to do content creation, the most important thing besides going live is just not giving up, because the moment you give up, it's over. Please keep going. Don't stop unless you think that it's not for you. If it's not for you, that's fine. Go find something else. But whatever you do in life, just don't give up.